What's up, everybody, man? Thank you guys tuning in another episode of Expert Mentors Live. And I'm super excited to have the one and only Tammy Pack back on with us. And I know this is what, third go around, at least
I
third
think
time?
so. Number three.
And some of my favorite conversations that we've had, and your little isms and Tammy isms, and
Yeah.
it's just always been great, impactful conversations. And so welcome. I appreciate, I know your schedule is ridiculous, and carving out time to jump in here and pour value back into this incredible group of honey badgers is absolutely amazing.
I'm super happy to be here, as always.
As always. So before we jump, I want to know, let's talk about the book.
You mean this book?
Stop waiting to die. Love it.
So the name of the book is Stop Waiting to Die, A Guide to Mastering the Art of the Restart. And it's funny because it's a pretty easy read. I've had several people tell me they picked it up and they didn't put it down till they were done. But they said it's about a 4-hour read, so it's a pretty doable thing. The audiobook, we are finalizing as we speak the files for that, so that should be out anytime. They said
it
comes a little later.
Do you narrate the book?
I do.
Yes, that's what I want.
Sadly, but I didn't really want to do that. But everyone that asked me for the audio all said it's got to be you. And I get it, especially if you have a unique voice like I do, I guess, with the accent. I listen to books where I know how the person sounds and the narrator's completely off and it just ruins it.
Yeah.
So yeah.
It really does. And being able to be pulled in what I love about it is probably you give maybe a little context, you maybe share a little story that, resonates with you a little bit more than just the actual transcription from the book. It's just little things, right? Or even how, you emphasize certain things and you kind of feel it.
Yes. And if someone else doesn't know how to do that, right? They don't, first of all, reading an audiobook is way harder than I realized. Because it's not like I read my book every day. I pretty much wrote it, put it aside, was done. So I'm reading a sentence and I don't know where the sentence is going in this whole book. And so I'm reading it and I realize I didn't know, but they're really good. We have the big headphones on. Like, nope, back, click, go. And you would reread it because I was like, I didn't know the right word to emphasize until I read the sentence. Now I've got to redo it. So the funny thing is, I'm a weird combination of having a Southern accent, but speaking very fast, which is not normal. But in this book, I don't, because they told me, and I'm very proud. They only had to remind me, I think, twice out of 8 or so hours of recording to slow down a little. So when I listen to the clips they're sending, I'm like, I sound so slow. But the good news is, if y'all don't know this hack, and I'm sure 99% of you do, when you're listening on your audio phone, you set it to be slower or faster, depending on how fast you're able to. Yeah. So I said, probably put it at a 1.2 to 1.5 for me to sound like I normally do, or be like, hallelujah, she finally slowed down. I don't know. Either way.
So what was the goal of the book?
Well, this is what's funny, because people always ask me, how long did this take? Oh, you wrote this while Wes was gone, which we can cover later. And I said, no, I've been working on this book for 4 years. And the only reason is I'm very loquacious. Speaking, talking is not a problem. So every time I sat down to write, I would easily knock out 2,500 words. That wasn't the problem. The problem is I went to the seminar, I outlined, I wrote everything, and the book was going to be about starting a real estate team. How to build a real estate team to number 1 in your market in under 3 years, which we did. And so I started writing that. And then I started talking to friends in real estate. They were like, oh, I just assumed it'd be about social media because you've done some good things on social media. I was like, am I writing the wrong book? So then I started kind of crafting it toward that. And then I had so many friends reach out and go, oh, don't make it all about real estate. I want to read it. I want to, because it's very important to me. And I kind of probably have a different theory than a lot of people. And I don't know if it's right or wrong. It's just different. A lot of my very successful friends in real estate, I see their social media and it's 98% about real estate. Yeah. Maybe 100%. And that clearly is working for them. Right. Clearly, these are very successful people. Mine is probably 98% not about real estate. So, and the come list me calls I get aren't usually about all of the real estate stats I shared and all of those things, which I do, but in sprinkling doses. I have a cat who did not choose to come in today to sit in her little basket, Coco. And I do a lot of video with Princess Cocoa Beans. And In one 10-day period, I took 2 listings. One was a $2.5 million and one was a $3.5 million listing. And what both of them wanted to talk about was cocoa.
Yeah.
They already had decided, I think people can tend to think of realtors as a commodity, a bottle of ketchup on the shelf. So they're like, which bottle of ketchup do I want? Now, are we that? No, because obviously we take our craft very seriously in our marketing, but the public doesn't always know that. What they know is if you're fun, you're interesting, maybe you're doing some successful things, so they think you must sell something. But I'll never forget walking into this one listing presentation. This lady goes, I was like, and this is what my husband Wes. She goes, I know you, Wes, because she did. They feel like if your choice is to go on the personal route, they feel like they know you. So I thought, that being the case, how can my book only be helpful to realtors? That didn't make sense. Is it helpful to realtors? Yes. Is it written by a team leader, broker, associate, all the things? Yes. And so definitely my experiences come through that. But I wanted anyone to be able to read this book and have it mean something to them.
I love that. And, I've always kind of likened the analogy, and it's kind of especially business, right? There are no business problems, it's leadership problems. And you look at your business as like an airplane, and you get to design the airplane. And, most of us are building the airplane while we get it up off the ground and in the air. And we kind of are deciding, do we want, a faster jet? Do we want, a big luxury, cruiser? Like what do we want? But we also have to remember is that it takes the pilot to fly the plane, and the pilot is you. And so who do you have to become in order to fly this plane to get to wherever you're trying to go? And I think there's so much that carries over into any industry, that anybody career path that they're on, that if you're able to connect and just share your story, your perspective, and the things that, the trials and tribulations, the ups and the downs, and the things that you've personally had to overcome to become that pilot. I think that's what resonates more than anything with anybody.
I think you're right, John. And I think another thing is, I think good leaders, even good leaders, sometimes lack one of the most important things I talk a lot in my book about, which is self-awareness. Sometimes they lack self-awareness. I distinctly remember being with the EXP Alphas in Orlando 6 months ago, roughly, maybe a year. I don't know if time flies. Sometime back, doing a wonderful conference. And I think it was Gene Frederick who said, let's go around them. What do you think how many of you think you're on leadership? 1 to 10. And I don't remember if it was a hand or going around saying, I think people were saying it. People were they were calling it out. And there were people I won't name on here, but were saying 6, 4, 7. It got to me and I said 10. And, and I was like, I don't mean that to be like, oh, I'm bragging. I was like, in an algorithm, in a paradigm where we all know no one's perfect, right? That's perfect's already off the table. So within a human scale, where are you? I'm not saying I'm perfect because that doesn't exist. I'm saying within the abilities I have, if I'm not a 10 on leadership, I'm a 10 at nothing, because I said my team will follow me off the cliff. And I looked at these folks and I was like, I'm worried about you guys. You are some of those brilliant leaders I know, and you're giving yourself a 6. I promise you, you are not sitting in this room if you're a 6 on leadership. So quit beating yourself up, and have a little self-awareness. I got plenty of things I'm crummy at. Finishing a task, following an idea through. That's why it took 4 years to finish this. But I'm not lacking in leadership, right? So just knowing yourself is a lot of what I talk about in the book. And a lot of peace comes from real self-awareness. I give a lot of examples in there. I talk, one of my favorite stories, and I've told it so many times though, is my daughter was, I think, maybe 12-ish. And, my friend said, oh my goodness, our girls didn't get in the advanced jazz group at dance. I thought, oh, really? So I picked her. I was like, oh, that's too bad. She wasn't that great at jazz. She was good. But I said, oh, I hear y'all didn't make it in that group. And I heard that Sally Sue did make it in the group. She goes, oh, yeah. And I said, well, what happened? She goes, oh, she was better than us. And the awareness in my face when, there was it wasn't like, shoot. She goes, oh, she was better than us. I was like, well, she's never been very good. She goes, I know. She must have been really working hard because she was great.
I love that.
And at that moment, I'm like, okay, so this is the key to feeling okay in yourself. She wasn't judging herself because she didn't make it. She wasn't blaming the teacher for not grading her correctly. It was just, oh, she was better than us today. And even better than I said, well, you know what? being a parent, I go, oh, but you're the best tap dancer. She's like, yeah. She didn't need to be validated for that, for this to be okay.
Right.
So to me, this applies to realtors. It applies to, I don't have to be the best listing agent to understand where my strengths are and what I'm really good at. I don't have to be perfect at running a team to be an amazing solo agent who's crushing it. And I don't need to make excuses for any of that. And so the more we can just sit in everything in life, the buck stops here. I don't care where you are on your organizational chart. The buck stops with you. That you're the only person you can change and influence, right? And I learned a lot that day about taking ownership of everything, good and bad in your life, taking the judgment out and looking at yourself objectively.
So powerful, the lessons that our kiddos can teach us. And, you know, they see it, right? Because they're a reflection of us. And like you said, sometimes, you know, they do become that mirror for us to realize. And it's like, oh, okay. So that's so powerful. So
I used to always think about this and then Gary Vee started talking about it a few years ago. And I'm like, man, I've been preaching this for years. I just wasn't putting a good term, self-awareness, on it now. And it's really the crux of everything. My younger kid would come home from school. She goes, oh, I can't stand this kid in class in 5th grade who is better at art than almost any of us. But she goes, I can't stand the kid whose art is crummy. And they stand up and go, look at mine. It's the very best. She goes, but I think worse is the kid whose art is probably the best in class. He goes, mine isn't very good.
Yeah.
And they do that to get attention. People start to see through our bunk if we aren't being honest and self-aware, and those who are self-aware will see through it. There's a few things in life that, whether you're a realtor or whatever you are, that will get you in trouble faster than anything. Not knowing your strengths and weaknesses. And number 2 is exaggeration. I talk about it a lot in the book. Little bits of exaggeration. What that does is that erodes my ability to trust you. Every time something happened 5 times and you say it happened 12 times, you know, I mean, we can all tell when somebody just exaggerating for fun, like, oh, this happened a million times, you know. But when everything, if 5 cars are parked there and you tell me that 10 are parked there, every time you exaggerate, I may not call you out on it, but in the back of my mind, I'm going, okay, everything's with a grain of salt.
Resident.
So people don't realize the harm they're doing to their own value with people when they get caught exaggerating. And you're getting caught even when people don't say it. I'm not calling you out, but I remember. We have joked in the family. I think my younger daughter's one that said, she goes, yeah, you know, you're getting in a bad place when I have to start every sentence about you with, well, as I understand it, or this is what they said, or supposedly. That just means you've gotten caught fudging, and you fudge a few times and it's hard to ever get that back. So tell it like it is. I say in this book, I wrote this book because my mom was the smartest woman I've ever known, the wisest, very little education, but the wisest. And she was always like, tell it like it is, you know. And she would be the one that would say, now don't quote me because I don't think I'm getting this exactly right. The best I can recall, these aren't the right words. And she would say it. So I knew that if they said exactly this, I could take it to the bank.
Yeah.
Right? You start to trust that person.
You know, the exaggeration thing is just a matter of time that it becomes overinflated, and then somebody's going to pop it. And it's just a matter of time. I mean, throughout history, you know, you can see that, you know, classic example of that happening. So you mentioned, you know, Tammy, self-awareness. So I would love your take on, you know, to help people kind of listening into this, and you may even break it down in the book. What helps people become more self-aware?
I think you just have to learn to dissociate your emotions with your abilities. You have to understand you, just like me, are not good at everything. So, and for some people, I think it's easier, obviously. Some people, it's a DNA thing, but it can be trained. So if you really struggle with it, talk to someone you're close to and say, and if they might be afraid to tell you, because if you're already this dissociated, you probably have some ego issues or some hurt feelings, right? So they don't want to tell you. So then maybe don't even start with what are my weaknesses. Start with what are my honest to goodness strengths, from which you can decipher what your weaknesses might be, right? Yeah. Say, well, what do you think are the things? And I tell people this all the time. In social media, people go, oh, you've done this or that, so you've got something to talk about. I said, no, people are already telling you what you're good at. They're telling you. They're already saying, oh my gosh, you're always so organized. You're always on time. They're telling you what your story, your alter ego is. They're in everyday conversations. Or they're saying, you're the realtor who somehow manages to be at the soccer games and get a meal on the table, but you're selling. They're telling you what your story is. This is what they've noticed. When Wes and I married in 2015, everyone kept saying, I'm so happy to see you, so happy you're living this great life with this great guy. They were telling me what they wanted to see more of. What they're telling you they like and they're enjoying, that's start sifting out the rest. So for self-awareness, ask them if you're not just quite ready to just hear it in the streets and among your friends on the road, out talking. Right. Ask, what am I good at? And start to believe it and go, okay. So, and then if it's a close enough friendship, say, none of us are perfect. Where could I improve? Because I promise you, I can improve on something and I want to be coachable. I've got one agent who she told me again this morning. She said, you know me, you always tell me I'm a little too black and white. So here's how I'm seeing this. And I was like, yes. And you know what you also are? You're also the most coachable agent on my team. There are agents that I couldn't say that to because they might run crying to the bathroom. And they're not ready for that. And that's okay. But the fact that you're like, yes, please help me, teach me, means you're going to get more value from me because I know that you're not going to start crying. You're going to know, okay, I'm just saying for this perspective, being too black and white can hurt you, right? Because most of life's gray. There's only a little 3% here and 3% here is black and white. Everything else is shades of gray. And the sooner you accept that, I think it's a big relief, right?
Yeah.
So ask people, let them, and then if you really want it to work, put your emotions away for a minute and say, hey, I want to be vulnerable. I want to be coachable. Nobody's perfect. How can you hurt my feelings by saying you see things as too black and white? And she was like, yeah, you're right, I do.
How can I lean more into that strength and find things to, some things in life we need to improve, but that's a weakness, but there's some things that we need, especially comes to business, that's where the who's come in to, to help complement, what we're not in the best in the world at.
You are so right. Matter of fact, just at the EXP conference I was just at, we first started talking to people about the working genius analysis test, and it's fabulous. So a few of us took it, and it's like widget or the letters WIDGET. W starts with wonderment and big questions. Why? I always laugh. I'm like, you're probably high on the W if you find yourself saying why a lot. If you transcribe my day, I don't think the word why ever is. I'm like, my husband Wes is a high W. Why is that street one way? Why are they doing that? I don't know. I don't care. They just are. Then I'm moving. One's not good. One's not bad. They're just different. And mine, I came out to be an ID, which is kind of funny because they pointed out today, they're normally your letters aren't that close together. So do you know what that means? I am really good at doing a really narrow type of thing. So you got to get to where it's not judgment. It's not, I'm bad. I did good. Did you do good? Did you do bad? We can all do. Bringing our strengths is all that matters. And I can be super narrow, but I can jam on that narrow ideas, discernment. My gut's right. I'm moving on. I can do really well there. But if I look at and go, Wes is great with questioning. If that's his natural working genius, when he asks questions, I should be a little more patient and listen. If someone who's way opposite of that is asking questions, they might just be doing it to sound good. So maybe I don't listen. But if it's your genius, lean into it. And I don't know why we've gotten into this good or bad. You go to college or you're a failure. It's another one of the things I harp on. I hate that. There's no one solution for everyone. And every personality type brings strengths. Every career path has opportunity. The reason I wrote this book, what made me so sad, I remember having my first marriage, which I was never going to ever be divorced. Wes is my third husband. That was never going to be in my script. I promise you. Goody two shoes extraordinaire. So got to read the book to know the details. But in the first one, I remember his parents. It was so sad. He was a janitor. She was a secretary. They had a comfortable home. Life was good. They had a good family, but they hated their jobs so much that they talked regularly about how many days until they could get Social Security. And it just killed me. And that was when I was 20 years old. I mean, it's forever ago. And I never forgot it. I thought, whatever I do, I just cannot let myself get into a space where I'm waiting to die, basically. I'm counting on, things aren't good right now, but what have I got? Another 40 years? Probably that's probably at most. And we've all had thoughts like that. I'm telling people, I'm not talking about serious mental health issues. I'm not qualified to speak on that. I've not really struggled with that. I have huge empathy for it. But I'm talking about even folks who don't struggle with it sometimes go, well, this career is not making me happy. Leading a team's not making me happy. Not leading a team, whatever it is that you're putting off. But you know what? What have I got probably in this career? 8 more years. It's not worth starting. It's always worth starting over. You know, Gary Vee has been preaching, and I love it. He goes, barring unforeseen tragedy, which can happen, you almost certainly have so much more time than you realize. And I'm sitting there looking at Wes, who's 58, who just flew back to Florence, spent a year getting a master's in art at 58. And everyone's like, well, what is he going to do? Is he going to teach her? I said, no, he's going to have an art gallery. He's going to be an artist. And I said, honestly, at 58, he could easily, with today's health and advancements, he could easily have 30 years in this career. He could probably have 2 more. Right? Yeah. He could probably have 2 new careers after this one. So we've got to stop going, it's too late. I hear 40-year-olds say to me, well, you know, here I am. I'm 40 years old. I'm going to have to start over. I said, no, you get to start over. Maybe someone in a marriage did you dirty, or it just wasn't, whatever the situation is. You're 40. You have a few bucks in the bank. You have your health. You know, maybe your kids are doing what you want right now. Maybe they aren't, but they're here. Yeah. You know, as long as you got another at bat, you know, you're still in the game. You got to change your focus, because it's real easy in hard times. Like we all experienced some hard times in real estate, right? It's not a picnic out there, but you've got to tell yourself, I'm still in the game. That means I've got another chance, and I'm not going to sit down and just think this is all there is. I can't reinvent. I can't make it better. I can't make my clients happy. My daughter and I were at that EXP conference last week, and I said, you know, she said, well, we need to get some advice on, you know, what to do with stale listings. You know, things aren't selling right now that are overpriced because sellers are living in 2021, right? Right. And we're operating in late 2023. And I said, yes, I think that's great. And we should do that. But even more importantly, I think we know what to do. I think if we all get our team, 20 people of smart creatives, a lot of W's, a lot of I's all over the place, bringing our skills, and we just brainstorm, we know what to do. We just want a magic pill to make it easier. We got to go back to brass tacks. We got to go old school, right? I bet you hear this every day, right? What do I do? The market's slow. How do I get leads? How do I make my sellers happy? Is this something you're probably dealing with every day now?
You hear it all the time. And I mean, you know, people that got licensed, you know, during those unicorn years, they may not just be aware of it, but those agents that were prior to, they know what they need to do. Maybe they're looking for validation. Maybe they think that they're missing something, but yet they're not stepping back to the fundamentals and back to the basics of, okay, let me gut check. Let me look and see and make sure, okay, these are the fundamentals. Are we fundamentally doing the things that we know we need to do? And you know what's crazy, Tammy, and you know how disciplined you guys stayed through that time frame, those unicorn years, but the agents and the teams and the organizations that stayed disciplined to the fundamentals of lead gen, you know, prospecting, of proactiveness in their marketing, their traffic efforts, their social efforts, being intentional and proactive, and making sure that they're reaching for X number of conversations instead of kind of getting back on their heels and being reactive to what's coming to them, because there was a lot just coming to them. But those that stay disciplined to the proactiveness and the intention are the ones that have separated themselves from everybody else right now.
Oh, you're so right. And you know, unlike most things, you know, there's the gray, there's the somewhere on that scale of staying proactive, because when you have so much business, you could barely keep up with it. You're probably not as proactive as you could, but the ones I'm seeing really succeed, we have some on our team who said, we've got to just start from scratch on how to even prospect. We've got to go back to the fundamentals deeper. You know, you never stop following up with your past clients, your sphere, all those things. We got to go deep, because those people, a lot of them got a license or moved out of the area. You know, so the things that have been so integral to our business, a lot of them are gone. So they came in and started saying, you know what, doggone, we got to start treating this like a business again. We got to start showing up at 8 o'clock, 9 at the latest, and we stay here all day, meaning prospecting, figuring out, getting organized, getting our spreadsheets up to date, our Trello boards, whatever we're doing to stay on top of our business, then some of them started creating these packets to mail out that were super time intensive, but at least they were getting something done. It had actual CMAs, it had actual photos of the person's house. They were targeting specific things, mailing them in bright colored wrappers that they got on Etsy. So that everyone opens this. These are like plastic wrappers that are rainbow stripe or orange polka dot. No one's throwing this in the trash. And they had someone pick it up on and put it on I think it was an Instagram reel saying, this is what it's going to take to succeed in 2023. This is what you got. This is next level. And they were like, I've used another agent in the past. I'm so impressed with this. I'll be reaching out to these folks. It wasn't only business. It had things like our favorite wine bars in Fredericksburg, beautifully printed, all the materials that was some business, some bio, all the things talking about their home. And they're having people reach out from those things continually. We've been doing this for a while, sporadically. We should do it better. I wrote not so pretty a letter in 2016 that I got a call on a couple of months ago. It's been in this file. It was a handwritten letter. Yep. Sometime when things go too high tech, I tell people, if that's not your jam, go super old school. Go start writing handwritten notes.
It's the zig and zag, right? You know, if everybody's over here, then you got to go over there. And you know, that's money moves to differentiation. If everybody's doing the same thing, the money's not going to be there. And so that's where you're always looking, and you nailed it a while ago, is like, there's always opportunity. You just have to know or allow yourself. And this comes back to the whole self-awareness, is that, you know, there is opportunity somewhere in any market conditions. There's always an opportunity. I mean, you got in, you know, I mean, you rode through 07, 08, 09 timeframe, and there was opportunity there. And thriving.
I was thinking today, John, I'm driving down the street just an hour ago, and I'm thinking, I'm looking at getting back in to the market and about making some purchases. And I thought, you know, I need to do a video about that and say, why are buyers all on the sideline when this is, I'm just timing it going, I think they're going to come down a bit more the way I think, because they're still so overinflated, but I'm starting to see the drops. I'm seeing them sit on the market. Why are buyers so excited to buy when everybody's bidding against them and paying crazy prices? I know the interest rate is good, but half the time or more, when these are commercial loans, they're not 30-year fixed. You're getting that interest rate, you're buying it on 5 years. And then almost all of mine are on 5-year, and then they're going to reset anyway. So that's all you're getting is the interest rate. I'm much more interested in getting the price right, which is now people that are in a little bit of a fix, the creative seller financing, which I've used so many times. I'm like, I need to go back and get me some more of those 100% deals, because we got people now who can't sell.
Right.
And those deals don't happen when it's 2021 and everybody's hand over fist. So each has opportunity for different things. We're making bank on commission 2021, 2023. We need to be looking at buying. There are ways to buy with 100% financing or very, very little down. I've done it many times. And the majority of my big money ever has been made doing that.
Yeah. It's like you said, it's opportunity, you know, being inquisitive, even if that's not your nature, getting around people who are, and, you know, really getting clear on, you know, back to what is the goal? What is the objective? What are we trying to do here? And, you know, kind of segue into kind of the headline that we were kind of teasing about, you know, is it time to kind of restart your real estate career? And I think that's one of the things that we can all look at, right? It's like, you know, where is the opportunity? And, you know, what do we need to maybe restructure, redesign this airplane? And then it's like, okay, I'm coachable. So what do I need to learn? What capabilities do I need to develop to become a better pilot, to fly this new modification to this airplane of where we're trying to go? And, you know, one of the biggest lessons that, you know, we've all been down and out. We've all been tested, back against the wall. But I'll never forget, one of the most important lessons in understanding that there's always an opportunity is that the only time you don't have a move is when you give up.
Absolutely.
And as long as you stay in the fight, as long as you choose not to, you know, wait to die and give up, you always have a move. You always have an opportunity.
Absolutely. There's a old, I think, Joe Diffie song, you know, he talks about ships that don't come in
That's
And he
right.
said, here's to all the sailors who've ever died in vain, the insane locked up in themselves, and the homeless down on Maine. To those who spit against the wind, no, wait on the shore and spit against the wind. But I love it because he goes, at least we've had our chances. There's those who never had. And he says, we're still in the game.
Yeah.
So whenever things are bad, I think about people have it so much worse. And now I hear Gary Vee using the same thing all the time. It's what I do. When things are bad in real estate, in whatever of your life, I literally picture, he always says a plane crash with his family. I picture getting the call that, one of my kids has cancer. I said, it's something like that. I said, it sounds morbid, but I was like, somebody did get that call. A bunch of somebody's got these calls. And it puts in perspective how fleeting and temporary. Am I even going to remember this dip? Now, am I going to be proactive and cut expense and then lead gen and go, hey, I got to get out in the community. I got to join more clubs. I got to get back in Rotary. I got to make video. I got to message my sphere. All the things that deep down every dang one of us knows what to do. We just want to be told, pull this lever and it's the easy button and suddenly you'll have all this business again. No, you have to sit down and think, what has worked for me in the past? What have I slipped up and slagged off on a little bit? And what can I reinvigorate? I'm going to have to work harder. So I'm going to have to work harder, but I'm still in the game, right? I'm not giving up. Something didn't wipe me out completely. I got some fight left in me.
Tammy, where what you've seen and even personal experience, I mean, where is that resistance met? Like what is that, right? That is just kind of just like stopping me and keeping me on that sideline, not getting, I mean, the Joe Diffie song, but it's also reminds me of President Roosevelt's, the man in the arena. And, sometimes what stops, what's that resistance that people meet from making that change?
Fear, overwhelm. I think we're all guilty of that, right? I can have so much to do at some time that I do none of the things I should be doing. We can get overwhelmed. We don't know where to start. Sometimes I tell people, I'm not always the best. I said, I'm such a big picture person. The joke is always like, you can't see the forest for the trees. I'm like, I can't see the trees for the forest. Meaning I see that it worked and all that, and I haven't taken time to go back and go look at each tree. So when times are tough, I have to go, man, everything we did worked. What are the trees? Upon what has been built this forest of success? What were the things that made it happen? So it's a deconstructing, but that's work, number one. People are afraid and they just get in a down mindset, which is that down mindset is when, to me, that's when I stop myself, flip a switch, and I'm like, nope, you know what? I'm still in the game. And a lot of people aren't. I still got cards to play. Now, I want to get more cards. I want to have more options. I want to figure it out harder. So, my ex-husband was in the Marines, and he always pointed out they had a great expression, which was work, don't worry. So my theory has been, if my mind starts worrying, I think worry is probably one of our biggest obstacles. Worry is a huge factor, and it's human. It's normal, right? When you don't know where the next mortgage, I get it. I'm not saying to put your head in the sand, but instead of putting your head in the sand or medicating yourself, work, don't worry. It gives you an endorphin release, I believe, as soon as you go, okay, I don't know where this is going to come from, but the universe, the good Lord, is going to provide, but expects me to get off my duff. So I'm going to get up, and you know what? I'm going to write 20 handwritten cards to beautiful houses around town, just saying, or to past clients, whatever it is. But I'm going to feel better having written 20 cards than just sitting watching TV eating ice cream, because I did something that tomorrow might bring in results. Like the agents on my team that mailed the packets, they're like, well, mailing's great, but it's expensive to have all these beautiful materials done. And, it's not free. They were like, so if we don't track it, so they spent all their time setting up systems to track what they did. They're like, we mail it. We're going to find those people's phone number. We're going to message them in 3 days to see, or that day say, hey, I sent you a package. Be on the lookout for it. And people are like, who is this? Say, oh, we're so-and-so with Absolute Charm. I just sent you a nice little package. Just hope you get it. I hope you enjoy it. And guess what? Some people are like, get lost. But a lot of people are like, really? Okay, well, it started a conversation. So they tracked the ones that said, get lost, never call me again. They tracked the ones that said, okay, I'll be looking for it. If most don't answer at all, guess what? The package comes 3 days later. They had a system. They went and they sent out another text, another phone call. They tried the things. They did the things we're scared to do. And guess what? I guarantee you, even though they had very little business at the time, and these are top producing agents, but you know what? I promise you, they slept better at night because they worked instead of worrying. They knew that day, hey, good Lord, universe, whatever you got, I put it in your hands, but I didn't sit back and wait for you to hand me a platter of goodies. I went and did what I could. I'm going to sleep well tonight. People have asked me forever, how do you sleep at night? Good times, bad times. People in my company, how do you sleep at night? I said, I sleep great. I sleep great because I believe in compartmentalizing. Now, this is probably because my brain's an ID, so I'm not self-righteous enough to think that every person out at the top works this way, right? But my ID brain, also being lawyer trained, that was what my first career was. You got to learn to shut things off. I told my friend who was working in the company, she's like, oh my goodness, all these things are coming due. This was 15 years ago before real estate. And I said, you know what? I asked myself, I got two choices. I'm either going to get up and do something about it, or I'm going to flip it off. And I mean, like this kind of flip. I'm going to turn off that distraction, that worry, because I need to sleep so that when I wake up at 7, 6, 5, whatever, I'm fresh and ready to try to solve the problem. I know one thing, lying here and worrying gives me no value. It just makes me sick. It brings me. So I said, I would literally in the heart, I'm going back to 07, 08, some hard times when we didn't know, you don't know how you're going to make it. And I'd say, well, can I fix it right now? Do I want to get up and strategize? I can't fix it now. I'm tired. I'm going to be up there at 7 a.m. tomorrow cranking on this again. And I found the ability, I believe we all have it, I found the ability to turn it off. I would force myself to think of a vacation I took in the past. Anything you can think of that's a pleasant thought. Maybe your sport, maybe the Cowboys winning the Super Bowl, because goodness knows that's been a dream. So whatever it is, I would picture that until I fell asleep. I would choose to turn it off. And then when I wake up, I'd be ready. So work, don't worry. Get up and do something about it. Stop worrying. You're just making yourself too tired tomorrow to fix anything.
Yeah. Schwarzenegger, watched the Netflix documentary, and he said something in there, talked a lot, kind of along the same lines, right? And he said, you start worrying about things that are out of your control, really, and it's stay busy, be useful. That's his thing.
I love that. Yeah,
right? Stay busy, be useful.
He's so right. Stay busy, be useful. Good things will come your way. Because I tell people the problem with worrying is whatever you're worried about is probably not the bad thing that's going to happen.
Yeah.
None of us are going to get out of life alive.
Yeah.
Our preacher always says the mortality rate's hovering around 100%. So it's not going to happen. You're not getting out unscathed. So whatever you are worried yourself sick and ruining your quality of life today, which is, what is today? September 13th, 2023. I will never have it again. So whatever is robbing my joy on September 13th, 2023 is not even what's going to happen.
Right.
Something completely different. Maybe I live a life largely unscathed, as good as it can get. But if I want to make it to 100 and have that goal, then I will have lost loved ones. Things are going to happen. And whatever you're worried about, it's probably going to be something else. So what is the point? I'm just too practical. What good? Talks about, what benefit is it to you to worry? The Lord knows what you need, and these things are going to be provided. What are you worrying? The lilies of the field. No, he knows they need rain. So we have to get into a space of mind where worrying is useless. And my patience for it is very small. Just because life has taught me it is the most ineffective thing I can do. Is it human? Am I judging? No, I get it. We all do it. But then take control of it. Maybe being mean and snapping at people might be part of your natural instinct too, but you got to get that under control, don't you? Or you run off your clients. Get the worry under control.
The thing that I'm hearing, and I want to emphasize, everything you're saying is, the reinvention, the restart is the way you think. And, it's really kind of you talked a system and a process, which is a model, which is mental models. And the way you think, and the more that you can stack those type of models to be able to latch onto. And so the work, don't worry, it's an example. Stay busy, be useful is an example. The other is that true? Another is, what's the worst possible outcome? What if that happens? What if it doesn't happen? Is that within my control? And there's all of these models like, okay, well, what's the goal? Is that really the goal? What's the main constraint? What's the thing? So what hearing to make sure we just don't sit around and wait to die and Do we need to restart? Do we need to reinvent? I think we're always restarting. We're always reinventing, because who do we have to become in order for the outcome I want in my life to be true? And it's just better ways to think.
You're dead on with that, John. You're dead on. And I think the another factor, let's throw one more in there, is timing. Mm-hmm. Sometimes the answer is whatever you think you're supposed to be doing or achieving or whatever. Sometimes the answer is not now. It's not a no or a yes. It's a not now. Everything I do, good or bad, is via storytelling. That objection handling championship belt I won that time was because I told stories as I don't have any scripts, but I have a lot of stories, and I relate the stories, and that's how I tell them. One of the most, I think, that kind of wraps a lot of this into one package is my younger daughter, Celie. She went to college at Berklee College of Music, very talented musician. 2 years in, she goes, I don't want to be a starving artist. She was always very self-aware. She goes, my teachers are geniuses. They're geniuses. I'm not going to be better than they are, and they have to gig at night to put food on the table. I'm not going to do that. So I'm going to go back home to Texas. I'm going to finish my degree in whatever and get out there. It's all about criminal justice, various things. We finally just said, just get out with a what amount to a general studies degree. So she got out. She was thinking about law school, which is my background. So she said, well, let's take the LSAT. I said, yes, give me that course. Yes, pay for the course. Here you go. She takes the course. She got a 157. 180 is perfect. 157. I believe the national average or median is 152. So it's a good score. It's not a great score. It's not a UT score where I went, University of Texas. It's not an Ivy League score. It's not up to her real actual ability. But what I loved about it is she goes, Mom, I feel really bad. She goes, I squandered that opportunity. So she's telling me at 21, her word, she goes, I really feel like I squandered that. She said, you bought me this great course. She goes, and I went to every class and I enjoyed the class, but I didn't do the work outside of class. I think you're supposed to do a lot of homework, and I just went and enjoyed the class, and I maybe did an hour or two of homework. She goes, I really squandered that. And I said, you know what? I love that you're being self-aware enough to admit that without just destroying your life. You're not beating yourself up. You're just being honest. And I said, you know what? Law school would chew you up and spit you out, meaning you're not ready right now. Yeah. This is the best thing that could have ever happened. Because if you lucked into a good score and went to law school, I've been there. If you're immature in your study habits, it will destroy you. It is so competitive. And everyone in your law school is out for blood because they're graded on a bell curve. They will kill you. So I said, this just means this is not the path for you today. It's not your path. So she got out all during COVID, started waiting tables, loved it. At a high-end restaurant, she was working 4 or 5 hour shifts, making $500 a day, doing extremely well in her tips. So we're like, hey, why don't you go to New York? You make great tips up there. Look at, she had risen up to a high-end server at the evening shifts, being very studious. She was growing discipline. I was watching her grow discipline. So she did at one restaurant. She goes, do you think, I'm so jealous. I wish I was more of this personality type. She goes, do you think they'd mind if I made a chart showing on the charcuterie board, these meats and cheeses are allowed to go on the boards together, these sauces and condiments are not, and made a graph and did all this. I'm like, you did that at home, not on the clock. I wouldn't be embarrassed to show your boss that. They're going to put a crown on your head. Sure. We would all kill over that, right? But I watched the growth of getting disciplined. She goes up to New York. Long story short, they don't make much money as waiters up there because of the way it works. So she goes, I think I want to go to law school. So I said, okay. So she went through the reasons that she thought she was ready, and I'd watched how mature she'd become as a worker. She went through that. And then here's how, if you want to be good in real estate, I'm telling you, take this example to heart. So she went from a 157 with no real effort in it. So she said, Mom, if you'll buy the course again, and if you can help support me a little, I'm going to cut my work to 20 hours a week, but I'm still going to work, and I'm going to study on my time 32 hours a week for this test. I said, okay, I will do that. So we did. And she did all the things, and she got a 167. That's a huge jump to 167. That's getting in most good schools in the country. But she goes, I'm taking so many practice tests. I know I've got one more in me. I know I can do better. So I said, okay, let's do it. So she said she got a spreadsheet that she made up. She started tracking everything in her life. I'm kind of blown away by it. What time of day did I wake up? What time did I have my coffee? Because she was doing practice tests, 3-4 hours each day. She goes, which days did I get a better score? How did I meditate? What did I say to myself that day? What did I eat and at what time of day? It was like bonkers. It was like, she goes, well, I might have a little OCD. I said, it's okay. You're channeling it for good. You're channeling it for good. But she got so intentional, and we can do this if we were willing to track it. You know what she finally said? I love her meditation. She said she went on a morning walk and do a meditation. And she goes, she's a slow reader. That's her biggest issue is comprehending quickly. So her meditation was, I am fast, I am focused. I am fast, I am focused. But better yet, she goes, I realized on some of these practice tests, this is how deep you can go, everybody, on self-analysis. She goes, I realized some of the things I got wrong, I wouldn't have gotten wrong if I took a little more time, and I had a little more time. So she changed the mantra. She pivoted, which you can do too, to I'm fast, I'm focused, I take my time when needed.
Ugh, I love that.
Right. It's so good. And so guess what she did? After all of this, she got a 176.
Holy shit. She gets in.
Which is, they say 20,000 people take the test in a year, and a 176 or above, 200 people out of 20,000 will make a 176 or above. Yeah. People are like, oh yeah, but you're just bragging because your kid's smart. I'm like, she didn't get smarter from the 157. She worked harder.
She worked harder.
She worked harder. She self-analyzed and she tracked it. If you will track it and go look at what's working, you can do this, guys.
Hard work beats talent every day.
Every day. She didn't get smarter.
Every day. I love that.
And guess what? More importantly, I said, you know what? Great. It got her in a good school. It got her a $50,000 a year scholarship. It did all the things. I said, that's all great. But more importantly, the fact that you could do that and be so disciplined proves to me you can now go to law school. Mm-hmm. And it proves to me, I think you'll actually be happy being an attorney. You did the hard steps to get there, and we can all do it in real estate. It's the same thought.
It's all the work. Tammy, that is, I think, the perfect way to wrap this conversation. And I love that. I appreciate you sharing that. I'm fast, I'm focused. I take my time when needed, and just proof, hard work beats talent. And that's a restart. That's a reinvent. And that is why you don't stop and wait to die. I love it. I love it. Tammy, where can Amazon? I know you've got the Audible coming out soon.
Sure. There's the book, Stop Waiting to Die. It's on Amazon. The Audible will be out soon. I've got a website, tammypack.com. You can find me there. And I would, as you're reading this, I think I would encourage everybody to work on your own mantra, because we're talking about that self-talk, mm-hmm. right? So I have another person in my life who's always comparing himself to where his siblings are, what they've accomplished, what other realtors in your office have done. I encouraged him to make his mantra something along these lines. It needs to be personal. But I said, I think if I were in your shoes, feeling the way you're feeling, my mantra would be, I am running my own unique race. I'm not behind. I'm not ahead. I'm racing against no one. It's something. I said, come up with something like, I am running my own race. I'm not ahead. I'm not behind. You got to stop comparing yourself to people, right? So whatever it is, and keep tweaking it and tinkering it and finding what's bringing you down or slowing you up. Make the opposite of that your mantra. I'm not competing with anyone. I'm running my own unique, perfect race at my speed.
I love that. Tammy, you're amazing. Thank you so much. And
thank you so much for having me.
What this whole series has been, 234 plus episodes in, and it's really, you embody everything of what this the Expert Mentor series is all about. So I can't thank you enough. Appreciate you guys. Grab Tammy's book, connect with her, make sure you're following her on social media, and we'll catch you guys soon. Thank you.
Bye.